Detective John Harper stepped off the sleek starship onto the metallic docking bay of Callis Prime, the Galactic Empire's capital planet. The air was thick with the scent of ionized particles and the hum of alien machinery. His boots clanged against the polished floor, each step echoing the weight of skepticism and expectation that had greeted him. "Welcome to Callis Prime, Detective Harper," a stern, gravelly voice called out. Harper turned to see Lieutenant Zara Thal, a tall, imposing figure with iridescent scales and piercing yellow eyes, her expression a mix of disdain and curiosity. "Thank you, Lieutenant," Harper replied, offering a firm handshake. Thal hesitated before accepting, her scaled hand cool against his. "I trust you've been briefed on the situation?" "Briefed, yes. Convinced? No," Thal retorted, her gaze never leaving his. "We've handled our own investigations for centuries. I'm yet to see how your intuition will contribute." Harper smiled, unfazed. Sometimes, a fresh perspective is all it takes. They walked through the bustling docking bay, where creatures of various shapes and sizes went about their business. Harper observed the efficient chaos, noting the stark differences between the species and the technology that seamlessly integrated their worlds. His thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Talia Voss, a petite woman with sharp features and an even sharper mind. She carried a portable data pad, her eyes scanning the latest updates. "John, good to see you made it in one piece," Voss greeted with a hint of sarcasm. She glanced at Thal. "Lieutenant, any new leads since the last briefing?" Thal shook her head. "Nothing substantial. The artifact was stolen from the Galactic Museum with no signs of forced entry or tampering with the security systems. It's as if it vanished into thin air." Harper raised an eyebrow. "No system is perfect. There's always a flaw." He motioned for Thal to lead the way. "Show us the scene." The museum was an architectural marvel, a fusion of ancient artistry and cutting-edge technology. They entered the Hall of Antiquities, where the missing artifact, a rare, crystalline sphere, had been displayed. The empty pedestal stood as a silent testament to the audacity of the theft. Harper circled the pedestal, his eyes narrowed in concentration. He crouched, examining the base and the surrounding floor. No marks, no residue. "It's almost too clean." Voss tapped on her data pad, projecting a holographic display of the museum's security logs. "Here's the feed from the night of the theft. Watch closely." They observed the recording, which showed the sphere intact one moment and gone the next, without any apparent disturbance. "Pause it," Harper instructed. He pointed to a faint flicker in the corner of the screen. There. Something disrupted the feed, just for a split second. Thal leaned in, her skepticism giving way to intrigue. "Could be a cloaking device or advanced teleportation technology, but those are highly restricted." "Exactly," Harper replied, "which means our thief had inside help or access to forbidden tech. Either way, this isn't just a simple heist." The tension in the room thickened as the implications sank in. Harper stood, his mind racing with possibilities. "We need to trace the origin of that interference. Someone in the Empire knows more than they're letting on." Thal nodded, her respect for Harper's methods grudgingly growing. "Agreed. I'll grant you access to our deeper surveillance archives. But make no mistake, Detective, this is our territory. We do things by the book." Harper met her gaze, determination etched in his features. "We'll solve this, Lieutenant, one way or another." As they left the museum, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, a silent observer hidden in the shadows, waiting for their next move. The hunt had begun, and failure was not an option. Harper stared at the holographic projection, the faint flicker of interference lingering in his mind. "This isn't just a random anomaly," he said, rubbing his chin. "Someone engineered this." Lieutenant Zara Thal leaned over the console, her eyes narrowing. "We'll need more than just speculation, Harper. We need proof." Dr. Talia Voss tapped a few keys on her data pad, her fingers moving swiftly. "I'm cross-referencing the anomaly with known tech signatures. If there's a match, we'll find it." Harper paced the room, his mind churning. The scent of ozone from the high-tech equipment mixed with the musty air of the ancient artifacts, creating a heady atmosphere. "While Talia works on that, we need to consider potential suspects. Who in the Empire has access to this level of technology? Thal crossed her arms, her scales catching the dim light. High-ranking officials, members of the Technologist Guild, and black market dealers. But no one would dare. Someone did, Harper interrupted. And they had help. Let's start with the officials. Who oversees security for the museum? Voss looked up from her datapad. Commander Raul Noor. He's in charge of all security protocols here. Then he's our first stop, Harper decided. Talia, keep digging into the tech signature. Thal, you're with me. The journey to Commander Noor's office was tense. The sterile corridors of the security sector felt claustrophobic, the silence only broken by the hum of distant machinery. Harper glanced at Thal. What's your read on Noor? Thal's eyes flickered with uncertainty. He's competent by the book, but he's also ambitious. If there's a chance he's involved, it could be politically motivated. As they approached Noor's office, Harper's thoughts were interrupted by the sharp click of Thal's claws on the polished floor. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a middle-aged man with sharp features and a steely gaze. Detective Harper, Lieutenant Thal. What brings you here? Noor's voice was smooth, almost too smooth. Harper didn't waste time. Commander Noor, we're investigating the theft at the museum. We have reason to believe there's more to this than meets the eye. We need access to your security logs and personnel records. Noor's expression didn't falter. Of course, anything to assist in the investigation. But I assure you, our protocols are stringent. It's unlikely anyone within our ranks is involved. Harper nodded, but suspicion lingered. We'll see. Thal, stay here and review the logs. I'll check in with Talia. Back at the lab, Voss had made progress. I've isolated the tech signature. It's linked to a rare form of cloaking device, one that's been outlawed for years. Only a handful of people have access to it. Any matches? Harper asked, leaning over her shoulder. Voss's face was grim. 1. Dr. Eric Vand, a former Technologist Guild member turned rogue. He's been off the grid for months. Harper's heart raced. Then he's our prime suspect. We need to find him fast. He relayed the information to Thal, who had just finished reviewing the logs. Noor's clean, but there's a pattern. Security was tampered with from an external source. Van could be our guy. The tension in the air was palpable. We're close, Harper said. Let's find Van and get some answers. They regrouped, the weight of the investigation pressing down on them. As they exited the security sector, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The shadows seemed to whisper secrets, the faintest hint of danger lurking just out of sight. We're heading into a trap, aren't we? Thal muttered, her eyes scanning the corridor. Probably, Harper replied, a determined glint in his eye. But we don't have a choice. We need to stop Van before he strikes again. The underbelly of Callis Prime was a labyrinth of narrow alleys and dimly lit corridors, a stark contrast to the gleaming towers above. Detective John Harper led the way, his senses on high alert. Keep your eyes peeled, he murmured to Lieutenant Zara Thal and Dr. Talia Voss. Van won't make this easy. Thal's sharp eyes scanned their surroundings. I've got your back, Harper. Let's find this rat. Voss adjusted her datapad, the screen displaying a tracking algorithm keyed to Van's unique tech signature. He's close. We need to move fast. They navigated through the maze, the air thick with the scent of decay and the faint buzz of unseen machinery. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became, the walls closing in like a vice. Harper stopped at a junction, his instincts tingling. Hold up, he whispered. He pointed to a barely visible mark on the wall, a symbol used by black market dealers. This way. They turned down a narrower alley, the dim lights casting long shadows. Harper could hear his own heartbeat, the tension mounting with each step. Suddenly, Voss's data pad beeped urgently. He's here, just around the corner. Harper peered around the edge, spotting a figure hunched over a device. Van, he breathed. He motioned for Thal to flank left and Voss to stay back. They approached silently, the only sound the low hum of the machinery.
Dr. Eric Van.
Harper called out, his voice steady but commanding. It's over. Step away from the device. Van froze, then slowly turned, a sly grin spreading across his face. "Detective Harper, I presume. I've been expecting you." His hand hovered over a control panel. "Don't do it," Thal warned, her weapon trained on Van. "You're outnumbered and outmaneuvered." Van laughed, a harsh, grating sound. "You think you can stop me? You're too late." He pressed a button, and the device began to emit a low, ominous hum. Harper lunged forward, tackling Van to the ground. "Shut it down, Voss," he shouted. Voss raced to the device, her fingers flying over the controls. "It's rigged to a quantum detonation sequence. I can't disable it from here." "Then we need to move it," Harper said, wrestling Van into submission. "Thal, help Voss. We need to get this thing out of here." Thal nodded, joining Voss at the device. Together, they lifted it, the machine heavy and unyielding. "Where do we take it?" Thal asked, her voice strained. "There's an old containment chamber in Sector C," Voss replied. "It's our best shot." They moved quickly, Harper dragging Van along. The corridors seemed to stretch endlessly, each second ticking by like an eternity. The hum of the device grew louder, a constant reminder of the impending danger. As they reached Sector C, the chamber's massive doors loomed ahead. "Get it inside," Harper ordered, his grip on Van tightening. Thal and Voss heaved the device into the chamber, sealing the door behind them. "Now what?" Thal panted, her scales glistening with sweat. "We wait," Voss said, her eyes fixed on the chamber. "If the containment field holds, we're safe. If not—" Harper didn't let her finish. He glared at Van, who was smirking despite his predicament. "What's your game, Van? Why go to such lengths?" Van chuckled. "You're still thinking too small, detective. This was never just about the artifact. It's about sending a message." Before Harper could respond, the chamber doors shuttered. A blinding light seeped through the cracks, followed by a deafening silence. The hum ceased, leaving an eerie calm. "It worked," Voss whispered, relief washing over her. Harper released Van, pushing him towards Thal. "Lock him up. We've got a lot of questions, and he's got all the answers." As they secured Van and headed back to the surface, Harper couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure was not an option. Harper's heart pounded as he and his team ascended from the depths of Callis Prime. They had Van in custody, but the gravity of his cryptic message lingered. "It's about sending a message," Van had said, and Harper knew they had to decipher it fast. In the interrogation room, Van sat cuffed to the table, his smug demeanor undiminished. Thal stood by the door, her eyes never leaving him. Voss set up her datapad to record. Harper leaned forward, his voice low and intense. "What's the real plan, Van?" Van smirked, leaning back in his chair. "You really think capturing me will stop it? You're more naive than I thought." Harper slammed his fist on the table, the sound echoing through the room. "Stop playing games. What's the message? What are you planning?" Van's eyes glinted with malice. The artifact wasn't just a treasure. It was a key to unlock something far more powerful. Voss's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "The relic is a conduit," Van explained, his voice dripping with satisfaction. "When placed in the right location, it can amplify energy tenfold. The museum was just a smokescreen. The real target is the Galactic Council's core reactor." Thal's face paled. "The reactor's shielded. You couldn't possibly—" "Not from the outside," Van interrupted. "But from within? With the right access codes? It's more than possible." Harper's mind raced. "The Council's core reactor powers the entire capital. If it's overloaded, total annihilation," Voss finished, her voice barely a whisper. Harper grabbed Van by the collar. "Who has the codes?" Van chuckled darkly. "I guess you'll have to find out, detective." Harper released him, turning to his team. "We need to get to the council chambers. Now." They rushed through the gleaming corridors of the capital, urgency propelling their every step. As they approached the council's grand chamber, Harper's comm buzzed. It was Commander Noor. "Harper, we've detected an unauthorized access attempt on the reactor's control room. Security's been breached." "Hold them off as long as you can," Harper replied, his voice tight with tension. "We're almost there." They burst into the council chamber, the grand hall echoing with the sounds of alarm. At the center, a massive holographic display showed the core reactor's status, the energy level spiking dangerously. "There." Voss pointed to a figure at the control panel. "Stop him." Thal and Harper sprinted forward, but the saboteur turned, revealing a face they recognized. One of the council's own advisors. "You're too late," he screamed, his hand hovering over the final command input. "Not if we can help it," Harper growled. He tackled the advisor, the two of them crashing to the ground. Thal disabled the control panel, but the reactor continued to spike. Voss frantically typed on her datapad. "I can reroute the energy, but it's risky." "Do it," Harper commanded, struggling to restrain the advisor. "We don't have time." Voss's fingers flew across the keys, the room filled with the tense hum of the reactor. The energy levels began to stabilize, the spiking curves on the display slowly flattening. With a final keystroke, Voss sighed in relief. "It's done. The reactor's safe." Harper stood, breathing heavily, his eyes on the defeated advisor. "Why? Why betray your own people?" The advisor's eyes were cold. The Empire's grown complacent. "Sometimes, destruction is necessary for true progress." Thal secured the advisor, her expression a mix of anger and disgust. "Your progress would have cost millions of lives." Harper looked at his team, pride swelling in his chest. "You did good. We all did." As they escorted the traitor to the detention center, Harper couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. The day had been saved, but the undercurrents of unrest were clear. The Galactic Empire would need to be vigilant, for the shadows of discontent were always lurking. In the aftermath, as they regrouped and debriefed, Harper's thoughts turned to the future. "We stopped this attack," he said quietly to Thal and Voss. "But we need to be ready for whatever comes next. Together, we can handle anything." Thal nodded, her respect for Harper now undeniable. "Agreed. We'll be ready." Voss smiled, her confidence unshaken. "With you leading, Harper, I don't doubt it." As they left the council chambers, the unity between human and alien felt stronger than ever, a beacon of hope in a galaxy fraught with challenges. The establishment of an intergalactic detective agency was not just a possibility, it was a necessity, and Harper was ready to lead the charge. ###End of chapter 4.